For this Patreon requested album review, I was asked to look at the 10th anniversary remastered version of As the Palaces Burn by Lamb of God. Unfortunately, just due to one reason or another, I have never been able to cover anything from Lamb of God for Rocked. It's a shame too, because of the many metal bands who have lasted over the years, Lamb of God may have some of the most interesting things to talk about. In May of 2003, Lamb of God released their second full album, As the Palaces Burn. It was 10 years later that the band decided to remaster the album and add some previously unreleased demos and film a documentary on the band for the package of the album's 10-year anniversary. It all sounds like a great plan, but that's when the bottom fell out and everything got messy. In June of 2012, when all the planning was in the works and a European tour was going on, Randy Blythe was stopped in Prague and arrested for murder charges for the death of a fan at their concert 2 years prior. While Blythe felt bad about the incident, he stood firm that he had nothing to do with the death of the fan, and he was eventually exonerated by the court. This story is significant because the As the Palaces Burn documentary that was intended to be about the band's look back over the past 10 years completely stops and shifts focus to Blythe's imprisonment and everything involved. Needless to say, the 10-year anniversary was not the celebration they were expecting, and it's worth looking up online to watch just to see how everything evolved. With all that being explained, the remastered edition of As the Palaces Burn was made to celebrate one of the band's defining albums. Looking back at what was released in 2003, it's easy to understand why so many Lamb of God fans love this album. "11th Hour" stood out to me the first time I heard it years ago for two reasons. One, for how well Blythe's vocals mesh with the deep guitar riffs, and two, the change-up bridge at about 2 minutes 45 seconds that makes it an atypical headbanger. That change in guitar pitch gives the song a sense of progression and makes the experience feel like it is becoming more intense as it goes on. When I was requested to review the remastered version of this album, I didn't have a problem with it, but I didn't really know why either. After listening to this album and then playing a few tracks from the original 2003 release, I could at least notice the differences did improve some of the quality and delivery of the music. Hearing cleaner drums and the vocals stand out more in front of the fantastic guitars make the music feel more like a full presentation as opposed to men in a studio. While many people may wonder if this album only has a few select tracks worth playing because the album did have 3 singles, the truth is that it is worth hearing in full. From the opening track Ruin, you will understand just how loud and deep As the Palaces Burn plays. The opening riffs and the bell strikes, topping the drums with Randy screaming into a guttural black hole that lowers into a verse, is the best 40-second sample to play for someone who is unfamiliar with Lamb of God. The short solo leading to Randy's go sets off a frenzy and makes the album go from a frantic blitzkrieg into a gritty and dark performance that all ends with some amazing string bending. Ruin is a track that stands all on its own in terms of talent and replay value. Along with the remastered version of every 2003 track, I also mentioned the previously unreleased demos of tracks from the album, including Ruin, As the Palaces Burn, and Junkie. They give an appreciation of how a talented band in the studio can go from thrashing into microphones to coming out so clear on the other side through mastering. I always find it interesting to hear the deep cuts of a band, especially years after they were made. It was a nice addition to throw into the 10th anniversary remastering. The unfortunate truth is that this remastering album didn't sell that well at all. Not even 10,000 copies were sold. When I first started playing As the Palaces Burn, I figured the title track would be the style I expected for the album: intensity and ferociousness. It wasn't until I started going through the track list that I found out Lamb of God were capable of doing more than blowing out eardrums. It feels like they aren't copying anyone, and their style and music is all their own.
Blessed be his name. Nothing now the same.
Putting aside the unfortunate events that happened around the same time frame and everything evolved, this remastered edition of As the Palaces Burn is that rare celebration of a band surviving many obstacles and tribulation through several musicians being able to work together for the greater good, namely the music and their fans. Overall, As the Palaces Burn is an excellent addition to any metal fan's collection and also an excellent introduction to Lamb of God. Now with the 10th anniversary edition available for purchase everywhere online, this is the version to get if you are like me and need to hear past great works of bands that are standing the test of time.